Good morning and welcome to Living by Faith Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Tracy. I live on a postage stamp piece of land with my little rescue doggy Chigger, a flock of 9 chickens, 8 hens, a mean old rooster, and I raise bed garden. I also like to preserve my harvest and anything that I find on sale by way of canning, freezing, or dehydrating. Today is December 7th, so it's the 7th day of Vlogmas 2022. We woke up to very warm temperatures after being 2 mornings of cold temperatures. It was in the 50s this morning, which was really a shocker. But we are on our 2nd day of rain, so everything is waterlogged, everything is muddy and icky, and the poor little chicken yard they won't even go out into. And I can't say as I blame them. It's just a mud pit. So I put some pelletized bedding down in part of their run to soak up a lot of the moisture so they can at least get out in the run and not get covered in mud as bad. I haven't heard much out of them today, so far this morning, so I don't know as the day goes on if they'll get more chatty, but when they can't get out into their chicken yard or don't want to get into their chicken yard, they're very quiet. So I expect them to be quite quiet today. I've decided that today, by hook or by crook, I am doing some dehydrating. So on the agenda is my apples. I have 4 apples in the fridge that are going soft that I had washed in soda water about a week and a half ago maybe. So I really need to get them peeled and in the dehydrator before I lose them. I still got another peck bag of apples that I need to do too. Last year I ran out of apples before the apples came back into season where we live, and I'm trying to make sure that doesn't happen again because I use them in cobblers. I bake them to put on toast. I make little hand pies. I put the dehydrated apples into my oatmeal in the morning, and I also like to snack on the dehydrated apples. So I don't want to run out, so I've been trying to make sure and trying to judge a little bit better on how many I need, and that's why I am going to be dehydrating some today, no matter what. I also have an article to get done today, no big deal. I started last night, got about halfway done. I've been having some concentration problems, and that slows down my writing, but I get that way in the winter. Winter's a bad time of season for me and my concentration. So that's nothing new, nothing to worry about. Just makes the jobs a little bit, I wouldn't say harder, but it takes a little bit longer to get the writing done. But I do get it turned in. Most times, I think there's only one incident where I didn't get it turned in on time. So I just have learned that I need to start earlier on it. And otherwise, I don't have much more planned out to do today. I do plan on taking, after I get the client work done, I'm going to take the rest of the morning into part of the afternoon as self-care. I'm going to lounge around with little boy here who's getting ready to bark at me because he doesn't like for me to video. See there? And I'm going to spend some time with him and just lounge around and love on him and just some self-care. It's very much needed. So with that said, I'll come back when I start doing the apples and dehydrating them. I decided to do some dehydrating today. I've been meaning to do it for several days now, but never got around to it. And so I decided, since I had these 4 apples that were taking up precious space in my refrigerator, all space in my refrigerator is precious these days, and they're getting a little bit soft. I had washed them about a week and a half ago in baking soda water, and I thought, well, I better go ahead and get them done, get them in the dehydrator rather than lose them. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. So I'll tilt you down so you can see what I'm doing while I peel them, and I will be putting them into a bowl of salt water to prevent oxidation and browning. So let me get you tilted down. So I have my bowl of salt water. I have my bowl for my peelings. I have my Swiss peeler, which I love, absolutely love. My apple slicer and core, and a plate to do that on. I find that I prefer to hand peel rather than use, I had an apple peeler core slicer, and I never did really like that. It just seemed like it was an awful lot of mess to clean up. So I just would prefer peeling by hand. It's not quite as quick, but it's not really a slow process with this Swiss peeler. I've got 4 rather large apples here. I am hoping that that will be enough to fill up my dehydrator. If not, I've got a whole nother peck of apples that I need to process, so I'll just use some of those. Now this core slicer slices it into 6 sections, which is way too big for when I dehydrate. I don't like them that big. So what I do is I cut each slice in half, which then gives me 16. And I find that's a better size for dehydrating. Then once I slice them, I put them into my salt water to prevent oxidation until I can get them into the dehydrator. It's a very simple process. I usually listen to music or a YouTube video when I'm doing this, but I'm giving myself a semi-self-care day today. I'm not reading any news. I'm not listening to anything on the internet, and I'm not listening. I'm just making it a quiet day, allow my brain some downtime. I do have an article to write, so I will have to do that, but it's not the same as, no matter how much I try to avoid, there's always something negative that comes across the internet. So I'm avoiding, other than writing, researching for my article, and working for my clients this morning. I'm choosing to have a quiet, peaceful day here on the homestead. It's also our second day straight of rain. It wasn't as cold this morning. We were in the 50s this morning, supposed to get up to 61. But everything is pretty much soaked now and waterlogged. So it's just wet and icky out. The poor chicken's run was nothing but mud this morning. I put down some pelletized bedding that I had bought, which is like what they use for horses. I find it works in their run pretty well. So I put some of that down for them this morning. This is a big one. It's going to be hard to get sliced, if it'll slice it at all. Might be too round for it. That seems to be the problem. Push it back through here, and I'll have to do it by hand. The reason I washed my peels, my apples first in baking soda, is because I want to be able to use the peelings. I put them in the freezer for when I need them, and then I use them for vinegar or to cook down and make apple juice, and that's how I made my apple cider this year. And it turned out really good. You can find it in another video on here. I got the idea from Lynn over at Bucket List Homestead. She made hers that way and just commented on how good it tasted. And it is delicious. Once I get these apples in the dehydrator, I'm going to treat myself with a mug full of it. Warm me up some in the microwave. Even though it's not cold, doesn't mean you can't enjoy a good mug of apple cider, especially homestead made apple cider. Need to make sure I get all the core out of these pieces. And again, cut them in half. Some of them are big enough slices sometimes to be cut into thirds. depending on how big the apple is. I'm not sure why there's such a difference. Say this one, it can be cut into thirds, because half would make it just a little bit too big. It's all personal preference, really. Just know that the thicker you leave it, the longer it takes them to dehydrate. But I don't worry about that. I don't like them. When I use the pill or core slicer machine, the hand machine, it left them too thin. And it made them too crunchy when I dehydrate them. I don't like them that way. I like them a little bit, not completely crunchy, let's put it that way. I wouldn't want to say soft, but it's hard to describe. I know it when it does it. Okay. On to the next one. Looks like it's going to be too big to go through the slicer as well. So I'll just go ahead and plan on doing it old school. I've got my apples drained. You can hear my dehydrator running here off to the side. I always start it first and let it warm up a little bit. Now I'm going to place these apples onto the sheets, the pans. I'm hoping to have enough and not more than one run, but if I don't have enough, depending on how many I do have, I may cut another one up, peel and cut another one up. If I have too many, then that'll just work out to where I'll cook some for breakfast in the morning. So it's no really major deal. But I prefer to have a pretty decent load whenever I load them. And again, I will set this part to music and speed it up because it can be quite boring. I got 4 out of my 5 trays. If I cut another one up, they're so big I'll have too many. I have 2 slices left here. I consider them little snacks for me. So I'm going to take it and put it over here on my dehydrator, which I will swing you around and show you. See if you can see it. Yeah. This is my cheapy dehydrator. It's a Chefman. I got it at Ollie's back home like 4 or 5 years ago, and I really like it. I'm going to miss it when it's gone. I'll go ahead and put the lid on it. Start the time. It is currently 2:17, so I'll have to roll out at about 2:30 this morning and shut it off. I'll rotate it several times between now and then and check them, but they should be done about 2:30 in the morning tomorrow morning. So that's the end of Vlogmas Day 7 here on the homestead. It wasn't an extremely productive day in the sense of anything being put up for the pantry. It was kind of a bittersweet day because I finished up a contract with one of my clients. I turned in my last article for them. This was a contract that I knew was short, And I usually don't take shorter contracts, but really that's all that's being offered right now. And it's still bittersweet because I do enjoy writing for my clients. And it was on topics that came naturally to me. And those are few and far between. So I finished up with them. I still have the apples in the dehydrator. I will take them. I'll send an alarm to get up to take them out later, early in the morning. And little Chiggy's out on his last trip outside before we head to bed. So I'd like to thank you for stopping by. I hope you decide to come and see us again. And from my homestead to your family, blessings and enjoy life. Bye, guys.